Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Generally Speaking. I'm your host, Bill Lawrence. Today's Thursday, July 25th, 2025. And this one is going to be quick, I promise. What do we start with? We start with the Epstein files that Trump is trying to distract everybody's attention from. And he's doing it now by talking about Obama was trying to do something incriminating to Trump back when Obama was at the end of his presidency. And at any rate, that whole argument is falling apart because there were already two investigations into it, which found nothing. And so he's trying to say we've got new stuff now, but hasn't produced any of it. What else? We've got the Department of Justice has asked the FBI. They tasked 1,000 of the FBI agents to go through all of the Epstein material to find any references to Trump. Why is that? To pull it all out so that we could say, see how Trump has done nothing? Or is it perhaps to try and hide it so that anyone going over the Epstein files won't find anything with Trump's name on it? Trump, things he's been doing, nice, wonderful president. He's attacking law firms. If there was ever a lawyer attached to that law firm that ever did a case that was against Trump, he's attacking them. He's attacking media. If there's anything in there that's anti-Trump, he's attempting He's attacking universities that aren't teaching the things he wants taught. That are, of course, allowing protests or have allowed protests against the genocide in Gaza. The Next story. The United States, the West, generally speaking, is the major predominant controller of economic finance in the world. Everything that goes around goes through Western banks and Western systems. And this can be bad, as Russia found out when they invaded Ukraine, and the United States decided to punish them by freezing $450 billion worth of Russian money. So this is just theft. You can't just freeze this money just because you can, doesn't mean that's legal. Anyway, not only did they just freeze it, but after they had it for a while, they were thinking, we have all this extra money laying around. Why don't we use it to buy some weapons that we can hand off to Ukraine to fight Russia? Imagine that. Take the money and spend it. So it's not just that we're freezing it, you can't have it, but we're going to take it and start using it. This is why alternative money systems are being developed in the world to get around from the United States. Suddenly just taking your money. That could happen at any time. So what else? Another thing, Tesla. Did you know that if you own a Tesla automobile, Tesla can at any time just stop your car? They can just send a message to your car and it will just stop. Why would they do such a thing? Who knows? Why do so many corporations do so many things? Our phones are just, literally spy devices on us. There's all these softwares that track everything we do and monitor everything. Everything we're involved with, is on the web, is on the internet, is in the database. In fact, oh, what's the latest thing? There's a company called Palantir, which is an interesting company name because it comes from a device in that Lord of the Rings movies. This black glass, this, one of those balls that the gypsies use to look and see your future, the glass sphere. And you look in the Palantir and you see things. Well, the company Palantir is using equipment, software that will track everything that everybody is doing that's connected to any kind of device that can report on you. And they're collecting information on everybody, on everything that they do. What a wonderful thing. Next thing, Amazon. I didn't know this. Amazon workers have to wear tracking devices, so Amazon can track them in their factories and their vans, where they're coming, where they're going, what they're doing, how many people they're associating with, what they're looking at on their phones. And why is that? Because they can understand whether the activities you're doing are like what someone would be doing to form a union. And if they think you might be one of those, they'll fire you before you can form a union. Who cares if maybe you weren't forming a union? It had nothing to do with that. You were just maybe talking about a Boy Scout formation, but you're gone. At any rate, so that's it. They know what you're doing. They know if you've been nice, good or bad. So be good for goodness sake. Your posts, you post things. It's a media world. You post everything about this, post everything about that. You have to watch what you post, because if you go for a job nowadays, what they want to do is, look at your social presence. And if they see something they don't like, well, you're not going to get the job. So this is a restriction on free speech now, in a way, right? No one's actually saying you can't say this, you can't say that. But if you do say it, it might affect your employment capabilities. Another thing I was looking at, the Ukraine conflict, been going on forever, and it's sort of escalating in terms of the equipment that's sent to Ukraine. And this one discussion I was looking at was talking about how it's ratcheting up slowly but creepily towards a becoming a NATO versus Russia war, an actual war. I mean, it already is a proxy war. Everybody recognizes this is a West versus Russia proxy war. If it was just a Ukraine versus Russia war, Ukraine would have, said, "All right, we give up already. Well, let's make a deal. Whatever it comes to, we'll make a deal." But the West is in there. It has even told Ukraine, "No, you can't make a deal." Ukraine has wanted to on a couple of occasions, and the West stands in. "Oh, we're making money by funneling arms and weapons into you and the arms manufacturer. So we want to keep it going." At any rate, it kind of is getting more and more heated as this discussion was going on. And there's talking about how the people don't think about what they're getting into, because a war with Russia is not a good thing. If Russia decides that what's happening, and just to give an idea of what's being proposed, the German chancellor has openly been calling for strikes inside of Russia. So there's already strikes near the border. Okay, we got that. That's sort of to be expected. But now, if you want to have heavy strikes onto Moscow and St. Petersburg, and these strikes are clearly the result of NATO's influence. These wouldn't have happened without NATO's doing this. This is going to be taken as a war is actually started full out with Russia, and they're going to retaliate. Now they're going to start blowing up, Europe. And this person was commenting how, this is just a replay of World War One and Two, where fights started out in Europe and they became dramatic. And the United States, on the other side of the Atlantic, nice and safe and secure, just watches and twiddles its thumbs and waits until it's time for them to pick up the pieces and make all kinds of benefits out of it. It's called sleepwalking into a tragedy, and they were saying it's an all too common phenomenon, and it certainly is. We're seeing that with climate change. We're just sleepwalking into it. I mean, there are things being tried against it. There are a lot more windmills now. There are a lot more solar panels now. There's a lot more effort going on. It's really weak in terms of what we need to do, but there is something going on. And if you ask me, there's another slow walk into death, as I would say, that's not talked about nearly as much, and those are the plastic particles that are everywhere. They're on every inch of the surface. They're in the rain that falls out of the skies. They're in the oceans. They're on the mountaintops. They're in the bottoms of Mariana's Trench. They're in the fish. They're in the plants. They're in the animals. They're in us. If you think that these microparticles, which are just growing and growing and growing, aren't going to affect us negatively in the near future, you're crazy. All right, what else we got? Boeing. Boeing decided it's going to move some of its production to Mexico for some parts or another. It's more convenient, and Trump got upset because he doesn't want any companies producing outside of the United States. His whole thing is bring all the business back in here, all manufacturing back in here. So he wants to slap tariffs on Boeing. You build anything with parts from outside there, we're going to tariff you. And Boeing's decided they're going to stand firm, say, nope, we're going to build this plant and we're going to duke it out and see who comes out the winner here. So we'll see how that goes. Russia, the United States is saying any country who buys Russian oil that has gone through China or through some other third party is going to affect tariffs because, one of the things we've been doing with Russia since the Ukraine war is trying to hurt them economically. And one of them was saying you can't buy oil from Russia. If any country tries to buy Russian oil, they're going to pay some penalties. Imagine that. We tell other people you can't buy. It's one thing, okay, we don't buy it, but we're going to tell France, Germany, Canada, anybody that you can't buy Russian oil or you're going to pay for it. I wouldn't, if I was France, Germany, or anyone, and someone was telling me that, I would start thinking, I don't know how much you are, my friend. So, at any rate, they don't want anybody buying oil that either directly from Russia or through third parties. And so the EU is saying, "Listen, don't mess with us. We'll mess with you right back." So this is how far that's going. He's just starting fights with everyone. Here's another story. There was an attorney general in New Jersey. She's there temporarily. Her name is Alina Habba. She's only there temporarily. It's only for 120 days, is as long as the period can be. She was getting near the end of that time, and for some reason, it wasn't the end yet. But a federal judge decided, we're going to put someone else in her place. And the Trump administration got very upset. For one thing, Alina Habba is their girl. She's been a spokesperson, a supporter of Trump and everything he does right from the start. And so they got upset and they decided, well, this person that the federal judge appointed in place of Habba, we're going to fire her. So she can't be there. So this brings an interesting question to me. It says, well, who's in charge of who's the prosecutor? Do judges say who they are? Or does the Department of Justice say? And that should be interesting how that goes. But another point about this was the Department of Justice was complaining about this federal judge who did that it's an activist judge. And it's an activist judge. What's that? I mean, she's active. She's doing something. I mean, anything you do is active. But I guess the whole idea is that active in the sense of doing something you don't like. That's what activist judge is, doing something you don't like. And I'm thinking that's kind of crazy because you don't like an activist judge. Who could be more activist than the Supreme Court, which is given Trump, they said as a president, he's got immunity for mostly everything he does when that's not in the Constitution at all. That's not an activist court. I don't know what is. What else we got? There's an organization called Humanists International. So they get together once a year and discuss the impact of religious organizations and religious laws that are promulgated or pushed, such as things like trying to have the Ten Commandments in schools, or Bible reading in schools, or Bible being taught in schools, and different things relating to religion as they would impact a non religious person, a humanist. At any rate, they have meetings annually, different countries, and they had planned one for DC this year, and doing a little questionnaire of their base, their people, about what do you think about the DC venue. Three-quarters of them said we're not really big on it because we're afraid of even coming to the United States, and that's understandable considering tourists have been stopped at the customs office and told, go back. We don't like what's on your phone. Yeah, I see you have a funny picture of JD Vance. And so you have to turn around and go back. Or worse, they take you and say, we want to look you over. We're going to throw you in an ice holding pen for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, and then we'll send you back home. And so they're very afraid of coming to this country. So the Humanists International decided they're going to have it in Ottawa instead. And they were citing things like a recent agency called the Task Force to Eradicate Anti-Christian Bias in this country, which is interesting. So it says if you support the separation of church and state, you say that, for instance, there shouldn't be the Ten Commandments hanging in the schools. That's anti-Christian. So they take these things and they twist them around. It's like what they're doing with affirmative action. Affirmative action was supposed to help minorities that had been disproportionately prevented from entering positions because of prejudices, and they were, had laws put in place that you had to have a certain amount of openings should be minorities, and that would uh, correct the imbalance. And now they're saying the right is saying this is actually discrimination against white people. See, when you do that because you're not letting the white people in that could have come in, this reverse reasoning. It's kind of sick. At any rate, so last thing, Trump's Is this last? I don't know. I said that once 3 times and it wasn't last. So I'm not gonna say it till I can't see anymore on the bottom of my screen I'm reading. So Trump's approval rating is dropping, going down, down, down on what? Is jumping on all of issues, his immigration, his economy, the foreign policy, his trade, Epstein, his people's appreciation of him is going very down. What else? GM, auto manufacturer, they're losing a lot of money because of Trump's tariffs, and not just them, but Stellantis. You ever hear of Stellantis? A lot of people haven't. They bought out Chrysler, GM, not GM, Chrysler, some other popular automobile manufacturers. They belong to Stellantis now. They're also having these big losses because of Trump shenanigans. What's up now too? Candace Owens, she's a famous right wing commenter. She was being very vocal about what Israel is doing to the Palestinians, which is very unusual for her because she's usually a right wing person. And it seems like a member of the right wings, her and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson, they're starting to criticize Israel, something that would have never happened before. So that's surprising. But what she's getting into right now is the French First Lady, the wife of the president of Macron. I don't get her name right now, but Aunt Candace Owens has decided that she was born a male. She's a transgender, and she's pushing this. And apparently, that's upsetting the French First Lady. And now she's suing Candace, and so in the United States. And so, it should be interesting to see how this turns out. Will the French First Lady be shown to actually, yes, she is transgender, or will Candace Owens have a really bad day? All right, so what else? ICE protests. There are protests against ICE now. When ICE comes around trying to collect people, now there are crowds showing up, chanting, waving signs, say go away. At any rate, this one fellow, he was handing out face masks to people. So in case there's any tear gas or things that would irritate your eyes or something, they would be protected. And he got arrested, indicted by a federal grand jury for conspiracy to aid and abet civil disorder. So they're really cracking down on, not even if you're a protester, if you're aiding the protester. This is they like that fascist word, and fascist. I said in the earlier presentation is when you're doing something that's against what would be normal civil expected nice stuff, right? You're being exceptionally beyond the bounds of what would be lawfully considered, and you're infringing on people's normal rights. What's another thing? Contraception. The right is against contraception. The government is now right aligned, and apparently there was $9.7 million worth of contraception items. I don't know what they all were. I don't know if they were mifepristone, which is the day after pill, or if they were just condoms or birth control pills. I don't know what they were. But at any rate, 9.7 million of them were supposed to be shipped different places. I don't know if they were all locally United States or if they were also going overseas. But at any rate, they got frozen. Another one of Trump administration's freezing of monies that was already appropriated for things that the administration doesn't like. That these will not go out to people, who would need them. Now they can't do their birth control. And what's more than that is they're going to have to destroy it. That's what they wanted. They don't have to. They want to destroy it. That's going to cost more taxpayer money to destroy that. But that's what they like to do. Columbia University, they were attacked early on as one of the first sites of protests against the Israel genocide. And the Trump administration came after them hard, saying they were anti Semitic and told them we're going to pull all the funding. And Columbia just collapsed and said, okay, we're sorry, we're sorry. And we'll pay the $200 million that you want us to pay in order to not bother us anymore. And of course, that's a little bit of being bothered. 200 million over 3 years. And I thought, it's funny. One of the reasons they want to pay this is so they can keep getting money. The federal government gives these big universities monies every year, which can be a bad thing when you think that now it's what they can hold over the university. They don't like what the university is doing. They withhold the money. So they give them the university. All right, so they're going to pay the 200 million, so they continue to get the money. I'm thinking, well, what's this mean? I'll I'll pay you money so that you can give me money. I guess what it means is the government will give them money, but minus a chunk that will add up to 200 million after 3 years. That's what else we got. an oversight committee made up of Democrats and Republicans that's requesting a complete release of all the Epstein evidence. They want to know everything, and it should be interesting to see how far this goes. We all know that the rich and famous never get prosecuted for anything. Nothing happens. However, if it's the other person who's doing the attacking is also rich and famous or politically connected, then something could happen. Whether anything will come of this or not, I don't know. What else is going on? Elaine Maxwell, oh God, can I get my names right? Ghislaine Maxwell. So the co-conspirator with Jeffrey Epstein, who she ended up in jail for 20 years for the trafficking of underage girls. She's in there and she's watching as Trump makes his new claims about the Epstein files that they're all fake. They're something concocted by Obama and the Clintons, and it's all a bunch of fake news. And she's saying, "Oh, wait a minute! If this is all fake news, then I'm in jail for fake news, and that's not right. I want a retrial. I want to get out of here." And someone was commenting to me, "Oh, look! Even if it was fake news, what about all the witnesses that came and said, yes, I was trafficked. Yep, Ghislaine, she brought me in and she introduced me to Epstein, and my life was a horror ever since. What about that? I mean, that's not a fake. That's a human being. So I don't know how that goes. But at any rate, since she's now speaking up about, listen, hey, let me out of here. You know, I got things to say that will show my innocence. Well, the Department of Justice wants to talk to her. They want to have a one-on-one. Listen, we have to talk to you. And you know, when you're in Ghislaine's place, which a lot of other people who are associated with Epstein are in that kind of place, things happen to you. It seems like a lot of them commit suicide. I was watching a heading about the nine mysterious Epstein associate suicides. So you have to wonder about those where there were suicides, and somehow Ghislaine hasn't been suicided yet. But the Department of Justice wants to talk to her, and they're talking to her in private. But also now, the committees want to have discussions with her. So I don't know what the Department of Justice is going to say. Listen, if you're going to talk to anybody, these are the only things you can say, and you can say this, and you better not say that. Who knows? We don't know what the DOJ is saying. But at any rate, after them, the committees are going to want to talk to her. So this whole Epstein thing, it's still the talk of the town, and that's why I'm talking about it. And that's actually the last thing I have to talk about. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Aren't I great to listen to? Please look for me again and listen to me, and make sure you like and subscribe and have a good life. Bye.